Good morning. So, this morning I want to talk about learning to die while you're alive. Um, it's something that keeps coming up for me within the spiritual awakening. There's also the surrendering into, which is learning to accept whatever comes into your life. And I spoke about how we go through ego death. That means that we die again and again and again throughout this spiritual awakening in various aspects of our lives. And as we learn to die, surrender while we're alive, we quit holding in those places. We quit having expectations in those places, and then we allow ourselves the freedom of fully experiencing those aspects and also moving towards the light. When you are trying to holding on and having expectation is living within the ego, is living within the physical plane, trying to fulfill ourselves with outcomes or things that or physical things or superficial things, right? Because if this and this and this happen, then I will be happy. But it is always an illusion because happiness lies within. So you're constantly chasing the illusion. You're chasing, and when you catch, it doesn't fulfill that need. So then it constantly is feeding itself. And if you get into that run where you're constantly looking for things outside of you to fulfill, it becomes addictive because you're not looking for a different avenue anymore. It's like that story in the book that I was where is the book? I had it right here. Maybe I took it somewhere. U2 with the number 2, like U squared, the about the story that I was saying that is in the very beginning of the book about the fly that's trying to get out of the window through the glass when there's a door behind him that's open, where if he just let go for a minute and checked out other options, he would be able to fly right out the door. So when we are head set on thinking that something outside of us is going to fulfill us, even if we achieve that thing and it doesn't, it might give us a relief for a minute or like a gratification for a second, but yeah, it's a cheap gratification. Within no time, you will be dissatisfied again because it doesn't fill that inner happiness. So you'll be chasing again, and it's fruitless. Whereas if you can see that pattern and let go of it for a minute, you can see that there are other ways, and it's always looking within. It's always the other route. So when you can surrender through that, and sometimes the pain of it is so bad that we try to avoid that pain. By all means, avoid the pain of it, because the pain is so intense when we let go of expectations, let go of the way that we think things should be, let go of the satisfaction that we think that we will get from that thing or whatever it is, right? From holding. These are places that we're holding. And a lot of times we're kind of forced to go through the pain. It's kind of like giving birth. When there's a certain time, I have 4 children, and natural births. So there is a certain time within giving birth that it is so painful that had you have the choice, you may try it. Your body takes over and God takes over, and there is nothing you can do but push through that pain. And it's kind of like the divine takes over from here. You don't have a choice in it. You're just along for the ride. And that's what happens during this spiritual awakening again and again and again. We go through ego death after ego death after ego death. And these are in different aspects of places that we're holding. So you must be willing to die while you're alive. That means that it feels, it's the ego death. It's the ego, the sense of I, right? Which is the illusionary. It's the illusionary. It's the illusion. It's the sense that I am separate from. Because when you let go of that illusion that you are separate from, right? then you automatically connect back to your soul, and your soul is eternally connected to the one consciousness, to the all. Every single cell in your body has come from the earth and has been other people in the past. There are metals running through your body. There is iron, there is magnesium, all of the elements of the earth, calcium, water, all of the elements of the earth run through your body and have at one point been something else. So you are of this planet. You are of this the all, the everything. You can see it in the physical body, and you know that whatever applies, because there are rules. I want to say, I know there's a better word, but I'm just so that I don't. There are rules that apply to the playing field, right? And whatever applies to the physical body gives you the capability of understanding visually with your body senses, visually, then all of your senses, of what also goes on in the invisible world. So what applies here applies there. And you can see that if every aspect of your body has once been something else, and it's all it is a big evolution. It's now evolutionized into this body, and this body is going to go back into the earth, and it's going to come out as plants. Animals are going to eat those plants, and I'm going to turn into poop and refertilize. This body is going to be so many different things, and has already been so many different things. And you can see that your life source energy is the same. It never dies. It never disappears. It is always connected. It is always part. And so we are eternal beings. Even the physical part of us is eternal. Everything is eternal. So when we can quit trying to hold on to things of the physical world, because that's impossible. It's impossible to hold on to things, because the only thing that is absolute is change and evolution. There is no moment in time that is static. It doesn't exist. Time is forever moving. Everything is forever evolving, even if you can't see it. So even if you see a stone that has been that stone for millions of years, it is slowly changing and vibrationally and breaking down. Everything is in a constant. And so when you can understand this, you can see that there really is no purpose in holding on to things. And when you're trying to hold on to things and keep them in place, there's pain in that, because it's impossible. You're trying to hold it. You're trying to make it not move. You're trying to make it be something that you want it to be, rather than just letting it all go and allowing the flow. And then you can become part of that flow. And not only can you be part of that flow, when you can really see that flow, you can play with it. You can also be a witness of it. So you can find the enjoyment in watching the changes happen, watching when you truly love something, you want to set it free so that you can see what it does, because that is the enjoyment in love, not holding on. So you can take this also with people in your life, right? When you truly love somebody, you want to see them flourish. You want to see them flower. You want to see them make the most of themselves. You want for them what you would want for you, and you would want for them what you would want someone else to want for you. And that is true love, in the letting go and allowing. And so you have to learn how to let go of these expectations and die again and again and again. Last night, a very close friend of mine, sent me, and he's also a guide for life, a guide to life, sent me an audiobook, the Tibetan, what is that called? Tibetan Book for the Dead. What? Let me see what it's called. I know the name. I just lost it for a second. Let me see. It is the Tibetan Book of the Dead, full audiobook. And I listened to it as I was falling asleep. So I put it on and I listened to it, and it's pretty long. And I fell asleep and kept on waking up in certain aspects. And what it is a guide for a transition between life and death. So it is something that you study so that when you pass over, you don't get stuck. You can pass truly over and go into the light. Now, if you can fully die while you're alive, you can become a fully enlightened being. You can fully connect to the one consciousness while you're alive. And something happened during the night. I didn't stay awake for the whole thing. I listened to the introduction, and then I started listening. I kept on waking up for parts, and it was all in my dreams, and it was kind of hazy, and it really guides you. Don't look at these colors, look at these colors, and it shows you how to transition. And I woke up this morning with this really eerie, mystical kind of feeling, kind of like something in me kind of changed, and feeling strangely empowered, but also very strangely kind of released, very delicate, like very, very intricate. But a lot of what the book was talking about is showing you the different aspects in which the different like planes you pass through as you die. And I could recognize them from ego deaths within my life. I could recognize what they were talking about within life. And the Tibetan Book of Death, Book of the Dead, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, is kind of like a guide through to enlightenment. So it takes you step by step, your ascension. And I would recommend going in and listening to it, even just putting your intention on rising to that place of ascension will start moving you within, because your soul recognizes. Even if you can't recognize it with your mind, your soul recognizes the truth in it. And kind of, there were certain parts that I woke up and it says, don't be tempted to go into, there's going to be these temptations that are going to pull you down into, like these pitfalls. There's going to be temptations that draw you in. Don't be tempted. Go towards the red light or the green light or whatever it was saying. Go towards that light. You will be afraid, but don't be afraid of it. And then it explains to you why not to be afraid of it, because what you're afraid of is that expansion. You're afraid of going into that light. It's big. It's bigger than you. It's beyond you. And it is expanding you. And so what it is talking about is kind of like the same things the things that we try to hold on to as we're passing through life. We're trying to hold on to things to give us that security. But if we let go, then we find security in the being free and in the flying through life. So I would recommend listening to it and listening to it again. I intend on listening to it while I'm awake as well. And listening to it again as I doze off to sleep, because I know that it is coming into my subconscious, and maybe without my mind there to interfere with the messages that are coming in, it is being put into me. And I really do feel like, first of all, this morning it started shaking things loose, because in my meditation was very mystical and very different this morning. Kind of felt something completely different, this complete connection. But also I felt something within my heart. Also yesterday when I was, as you're going through the spiritual awakening, you get messages all the time through everything. Even in Facebook, there was something that came up. And it was talking about how our heart has its own, there are cells in our heart that hold memory. Scientists have found that in your heart there are cells that hold memory. Now these are memory without awareness, but they hold memory. And what happens when we go through traumas, when we're children and our heart hurts, it gets stored in those memory cells. The hurt does, right? So traumas get stored in those memory cells, and then only as we grow and as we are capable of dealing with those emotions, right? Because it closes off those emotions to us so that we don't have to feel them, because we're not capable of processing them when we're young children. We don't have the tools yet to do that. And as we go through this spiritual awakening, as we awaken, we start getting more and more tools. So slowly our heart, that's why our heart hurts so bad during the spiritual awakening. It's breaking open all of these past traumas. And that's why a lot of the traumas, a lot of the pain that comes up without thoughts attached, because the pain came before the memory. So we have no memory attached to the pain, but the pain is still there as an emotional memory. And so during my meditation this morning, I could feel my heart just breaking open. And then I had, of course, afterwards, I had like this breakdown, kind of like this poor me. It kind of went with thoughts, but then I realized that it's not because of the thoughts. It's something in my heart opened up these emotions that had been closed. We're getting to the very core. We're getting so deep. When we get to the emotion without the memory, we are so close to our core abandonment wound that happened at birth. So I'm even having conscious memories of when I was a tiny baby. I remember things. I was telling my mother that I remember this house, and she said, "You can't remember that house. You were a few months old." And I told her what the room looked like, and she was shocked. She said, "Well, did you see it in a picture?" I didn't see it in a picture. I could see it. I remember it. I remember looking at the particles, laying in my crib and looking at the particles that were flying in the air in the sunbeam. See, those are things that as adults, because we're so busy doing, we don't take the time just to lay and stare at particles that are floating in sunbeams. So these videos, I go so like all over the place, but everything is connected to everything, and there's so many messages that are come through all at once, and it's all connected. So the point of this is that we have to learn how to die while we are alive, and then we are free to live. So I am sending you guys so much love. Suggestion for the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Thank you to my guy that it was sent to me. I will put a link, if I remember. I will put a link to the audiobook that I got, just a suggestion. That, sometimes we get little tips and little things that help us along the way. So I'm sending you guys so much love. If you want to meet with me on a one-on-one session, my contact information is below. Sending you guys so much love. Thank you for watching.